Hi, I am here with Watergh0st, an artist and musician based in New York, and we are talking about formal review.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Um, so I had a look at the site that was created for the shipping site,
Right.
the capsule site for formal review. And I'm really excited to learn more about it. The first thing I can identify is your wit and general cynicism toward furniture for some reason.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, like, are you really into furniture or are you like, fuck furniture? And I also want to say I got to see your first video for shipping and I was super into it, which is why Alex asked me to interview you today.
I'm glad. Thank you. No, I don't fuck furniture actually, but I really liked the idea of like thinking of just like, online performances as a sort of furniture, because it's this way to sort of think of musical performance as like taking up discrete space in a room. And so whoever's watching the show, the performer becomes submissive to wherever the viewer wants to put them, in their room, in their living room, in their kitchen. And so this sort of like, furniture music and like ambiance and mediated performance, like it was just something I kept on riffing with, and I thought a whole show about it would allow me to kind of tackle connections and disconnections with contemporary performance online.
Well,
Basically is my opinion of furniture.
a lot of your art, from what I understand, is about music, and your music, it kind of all thematically correlates, because when I think of furniture in the context that you're describing it, I think of sort of like a physical space that you're inhabiting. Did I completely just cut out, or did you hear me?
You may have cut out for a second. I remember I heard you say the space I'm inhabiting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the idea of like a musical performance,
Yeah.
you're inhabiting this space, and it calls to mind, even though the furniture that you're depicting here in formal review is kind of nicer, higher end furniture. The first thing to mind for me is this idea of being in a practice space,
Sure.
or being in a DIY space, and all of the furniture in those spaces is very, it's a kind of key part of the performance experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. But what I think, all of those things are definitely utilized for performance, and I mean, that is what creates theater in a way. It's just like you use furniture or these other things to sort of create something transformative and bring another world into a space. And furniture is a large part of that. But I think the social function with furniture is really what I find the juiciest. And I think when you think of like, gear and all the stuff that's involved in DIY culture, there is this function first, like everything is extremely practical, and it's incredibly bare bones because its primary use is to kind of just facilitate these shows, and not get in the way. So it does also provide, yeah, that 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 as well.
So, okay, let's talk for a minute
I
about,
love the grandiose. I think that's what's very funny.
what did you say?
I just think the grandiosity of really nice like furniture is very funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell in the images that you chose to depict on
Yeah.
this, which we should probably talk about so that people understand what I'm even referring to. But
Sure.
you made me want to ask about kind of I hate talking about COVID, but like clearly there is some sort of connection with this. There's the idea that people have been dabbling between the physical realm and the virtual realm for a long time, and figuring out how to take experiences online and kind of weave those two stories of IRL and online at the same time. But with COVID, you know, everyone has kind of had to address this at the same time.
Yes.
And so I'm curious to know if your sort of journey, like in the digital space, was impacted at all by quarantine, or if you've already been playing in between both worlds.
I mean, I'd probably say that like the circumstances were the impetus for writing this at all. Because I think in a lot of ways the reason why all of this has been thus far pre-recorded, I think I'm really refusing the online performance as something that is related to any of my goals in the past with improvisation or performance, and I have no interest in it. And there are still questions about performance that are, you know, relevant and pressing, particularly now. But I've now decided that I should make, you know, videos are not really at all in what they are, like as a medium to talk about performance, because I just don't see the point in it. So yeah, it's entirely inspired by that. And I mean, I had been really thinking about like improvisation and the live context as this ephemeral creating and disappearing. I have a jazz background primarily. That's like the majority of like everything I draw from is studying jazz. And so the fact that the live experience is something that is creating this language of the moment and then immediately goes away the second the performance ends. What happens is, because of the reproduction of video or live performance on a screen, you know, be it a video or a stream or whatever, that reproduction is, it de-livens it to me. And so I don't see it as live.
Right. So you like the idea of everything being it, I guess you're not even looking at it like performance. You're looking at it like, okay, this is a totally different channel for my art. And that is sort of taking from, I'm speaking based on what I saw in the first video that I watched, which it felt, the reason I liked it so much was because it felt ephemeral and it felt improvised, even though it was cut. And so clearly you have been able to adopt an editing style that allows you to keep that tiny little feeling, but not try to recreate it or feign it in any way.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is super
I think
to me.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I just started watching a lot of these streamed music performances, even things I used to do like years ago, and something about it, I think there's just, you have to sort of, to keep that juice of it, it has to require the cutting actually. You have to sort of edit it to kind of show what the severity of improvisation can bring out. I mean, yeah.
The word that came to mind for me just now was like a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Where you can feel a sense of urgency in real life, but when you're watching something that's maybe just a live recording with no edits, that sense of urgency, that kind of crescendo gets lost on people, because time just, you're not in the same moment.
Right.
So if you're able to edit, you can kind of recreate that sense of urgency by cutting
Right.
out those bits.
Yeah, exactly.
That's super cool. Okay, so let's talk about your printables, because
Okay.
I could go on forever about this video that's completely irrelevant to this specific project. But
Right.
everyone watch the video. I think this stream is on the shipping website,
Yeah.
I believe, and it was part of the last festival, which happened, maybe this was in July.
Yeah, I think the 31st.
Yeah. So, okay, so you have a bunch of printables of furniture
Yes.
on this website, which is a capsule site on shipping's website, for a project called Formal Review.
Yes.
So let's talk about Formal Review as your, curatorial statement for the project. Is I think you're lagging, sorry. Oh my god, I hate Zoom.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna be having like a nervous breakdown pretty shortly.
Okay.
Just Zoom
I
lag.
will be your rock.
I
will, yeah. You and me.
So you have the print top and then almost like this manifesto about the printouts. So why don't you talk me through your prompts and why you have prompts associated to this cutout furniture?
Well, it's sort of a larger theme and also through the years is there's this theme that I've been playing around with for a while, which is just that is to do, and that there is this desire of I want to understand what to do. And so, like, for example, a lot of people I've heard this, that like people will enjoy more of like a hardcore show where they can mosh as opposed to like, seeing a band that they don't really know, and there's sort of this illegibility in how the audience member is supposed to function. And so a kind of strong thread in a lot of Formal Review is this idea that the audience has this wish to be submissive to the performer, and they want to have this legible instruction of how to respond. It's why we have, laughing tracks in sitcoms, or why people love going to dance and listen to DJs, that sort of thing, because the transaction collapses all that is complex about witnessing a live show. And so the cutouts are this way to kind of continue a sort of live action where someone who's watching, they might not want the choice to do whatever they want with this furniture, and they might want to be told what to do. And so here are 10 suggestions, although there are others in which I can tell someone how to use this thing that I'm giving them.
So do you think it's a wish to be submissive, or just a wish to have like an understanding of what one as a audience member is getting themselves into?
I guess it's interesting because I also in the show allude to this idea that I think the performer is also submissive, and there's this sort of passing of power in a live dynamic. Maybe submissive is too total, but I do think that there is, regardless, this wish to look to the performer as some sort of authority of making the performance understandable.
Right. Someone who has you have the answers, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of your prompts are pretty radical. And I see the prompts as obviously being more of a statement on the work itself. The idea of having prompts, like you're saying, okay, so I'm having these prompts to kind of just play into the larger theme, which is that people want to have this kind of dialogue with the performer. So where do you see this particular, I know there are other parts of this project that are going to kind of unfold over an indefinite amount of time.
Right.
But where do you see this going in terms of the printables? Is printables just this month and then it goes into something else next month?
Yeah. Because the whole theme of the first episode is flatness and judging furniture based on how it is flattening or flattering, and kind of flatness as this way to experience performance or furniture.
So you're reviewing your furniture with flatness being the barometer upon which you're reviewing it?
Yeah. That's like a main theme of how a lot of the reviews will go. Yeah.
So go ahead.
I'm letting people print out flatness ostensibly. Like there's this image that we see to be, a representation of this like three-dimensional object, but we can't have that like a live performance. And so we have these like flimsy pieces of paper to give people.
Right, like
use.
Like the substitute.
Yeah.
I really like that. I heard you mention that there would be more artists come to the mix. Is that something that you're going to be curating?
I guess. Kind of. It's interesting because unlike music, I just feel like particularly, I have a lot of friends who are painters, and I think that there's this trap of like, oh, I must be represented by a gallery to in some way be validated. And I just sort of loved this idea of opening up, first of all, like just sort of paintings as this like flat virtual reality. It just felt very much related to the episode. And I want to give people another option to see art, because so much of art is silly anyway, and why not be represented by a recurring show, like an online show? Like I don't really see a difference at this point, considering people can't really go anywhere. And I just think that also, in a perfect world, like the artist would receive most of the money through selling out of their studios or whatever, selling through like galleries, and they just get fucked because they have to be represented in this way. And I just want an avenue where they can get all of the check, and I just want to support paintings in that way, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, I'm sure that you have a vested interest in making sure that the people in your community also being treated, there's a new set of standards. I really feel I worked in art for a while, like 6 years, and just really seeing how the breaks are with galleries, like the way the chips fall has not been fair. And there's so many people who talk about this, and I think that at this point it's kind of like shifting out of this old art dealer Medici patronage idea into more of like a mutual, almost like a mutual aid, like artists supporting other artists and making a living within that space without depending on having to make art for the sake of it being purchased by a patron.
Yeah, exactly. And I finish your thought.
How do you apply that to your art? Because clearly that is a consideration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also make music, and so I'm in a really different I have a lot more, I think, opportunity just because of the immateriality of music. Like I'm signed to like a record label, and like I can write for like music for shows, and there's like performance, and just because the idea of a work with music is so flexible, there's a lot that I can do, you know? And um but for a long time I've also been like very anti-institution, and I think that, like, you know, most American art that has been groundbreaking tends to require the refusal of institution. And I think Americans don't even really understand what institution really is, because we don't have this cultural cultivation like you see in France or Italy or Germany. And Americans just believe if a group of people is large enough that it must be an institution, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so if enough artists are on my show, I think Americans will just believe, oh, that must be an institution. It is a gallery. And they would just convince themselves that's what it is.
I don't think you're wrong. Yeah, you're definitely not wrong
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, I guess as someone who has who is anti-institution, as you say, to some extent.
As much as I can be, yeah.
Of course, right. Because that's what I was just gonna ask you about. So, like, were you self-releasing for a long time before you were signed to a label, and what's that been like? Sort of.
I first of all have a really good relationship with my label. I'm signed to Cleopatra, and they're very, like, pretty much hands off, I would say. But they also did come to me with, so I releasing for years, self-released, and I mainly, most of my work was about like recording music and like being a recording artist. And then I think probably 2 or 3 years ago I really pivoted to performance being the thing I'm more interested in. Mm-hmm. And they kind of reached out to me with an interest in some songs I had released maybe 4 years ago, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's kind of, I'm getting like some stuff through like streams, but if it's like collecting dust, basically, like, why not have these people like use it to kind of allow me to, you know, pay my rent? Like, it just felt, because there was this interest, like, kind of older work, that it'd be fine. And then for the most part, recorded music is something that I'm extremely passionate about making, and I think about those works all the time. But I think the real interest for me right now artistically is performance, or kind of talking about performance in the way I've been doing. So it sort of just feels like, you know, if I can make a certain amount of songs a year and I can kind of keep going in that route, why not? But I feel like for the most part, the performance aspect of my work remains pretty much untouched, and I almost see the writing of recording music as just something I'm doing to help support myself.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now with video being up your sort of repertoire, right?
Yeah.
With this series in particular, are you filming, cutting, editing? Are you doing all of it?
Yeah. I'm doing it all.
It's cool, because it's really interesting to see the way certain artists can kind of go in and out of different mediums in a way that really feels like their own art. Like, you can have a song, and then you can have you have your own sort of style with the videos you're making as well. So it's truly like a very transcendent, like, way you communicate your art.
I think it's probably a lot of that is probably like the humor and like the cynicism, honestly. It just sort of covers everything that I end up doing.
Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, you keep lagging. This is a message to shipping media. Stop using Zoom. Sorry, I had to just put that message out there to ship.
Okay.
Yeah, shipping media. If you're
Yeah.
listening, I hate Zoom. Anyway, so okay, so you have formal review. You are starting with the furniture. That is the episode that is kicking this whole thing off.
Yeah.
And you're going to be working with some painters.
Yeah.
You were saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just like the first painter is my roommate Matthew, and he's also has. I don't think I could have gotten the last show done if it wasn't for him, because he's really just like has helped me film like a shit ton of this stuff. But yeah, he's the first one, and I think a lot of the stuff is related to like the body and like representing like strange anatomies, and it feels related, and I'm excited for it.
So what other types, what do you see kind of unfolding throughout these episodes? Or has it not really fully kind of fleshed itself out yet?
What I do know is that after this episode that there's a pageant. That's all I know. And I just kind of have it on my wall, like for later. There will be a pageant in the second one, and then I'll see how that goes.
What will the pageant?
Like a furniture like pageant. I think it'll probably be like an upholstery pageant or something, and like they'll all, be vying for the most beautiful in some way.
Who determines the criteria for the beauty?
It depends on, I think, the episode. I think I don't know if it's this episode or later, but I know there'll be an election at some point, and that'll probably be more interactive. But maybe the president decides. I don't know yet. I just know
president of formal review. The president of
kind of, yeah. I mean, it's interesting how insular the world has become. Like there are fictitious countries in formal review, and fictitious corporate conglomerates that provide the commercials and their fake news channels. Like it's really become this like very expanded universe.
So is this the universe that you're kind of? Is this the universe that you've chosen? It kind of sounds like you're building this whole world around you, because this current one is pretty much shit.
I guess it just makes you old, and I would like to have a world that's a bit more about these ideas, because if I'm making a hour-long show each month, I clearly need attention in some capacity, and so maybe that it's a bit more, yeah. So maybe in that regard, like the world creating makes it a bit more
like this is
like the signs out there. Yeah, like it's a bit more for me, strange and uncertain, and more.
We all kind of live in our own world anyway,
Yeah. There is exhaustion though with empathy in a way, and I love to have this world where I'm like, I can be as cynical as I want, and I don't have to humanize some of these characters, for example. Like I don't have to empathize with like the fictitious Pope in it, or like the Vatican. I don't have to sympathize with like these systems, or like think about people like finding themselves, and I can just be really elaborate, and like everything can be chaotic but orchestrated.
I'm definitely for that.
Yeah.
May I join you in your
Yeah. I mean, you can vote in the election. I mean, you can become a flat flick if you want.
Yeah,
Just,
there's a lot of dimensionality going on
yeah.
in the world. I clearly flatness is a huge theme.
Yeah. This one, it's a lot.
So if you could basically, if there's anything that you want to say about the first episode that we didn't really discuss, I guess now would be a good time.
There's a lot of wordplay in Italian, and if you have Google Translate, might be fruitful to see what I'm saying. That's what I'll say.
Benissimo. Ok.
Yeah, cavallo.
Deve parlare in italiano adesso, ok?
Adesso sì, lo posso farlo però.
Eh,
Per l'altra intervista. Sei
ok.
italo-americano o italiano, davvero?
Io
Sì.
sì. Sì. Well, now we're talking Italian. Are we gonna add like lower third? We're gonna have to add lower third subtitles. No, io qua, ma mio papà è di Milano e Genova e poi mia famiglia abita.
Milanese, figo. Ok.
Oh.
Perché ho sentito che tu eri italo-americana.
Sì, ma è nata qua.
Oh.
So my mom
Però
is
è un po' diverso.
sì, perché mio papà è di Italia. My name is Alessandra Di Benedetti. That's very.
Oh, so I thought you were like, I know. So I thought you were like, probably like, went to like, what's the school like, accounting? And you were like, gonna be like,
No, but
and you are, which is awesome.
Speak in a very good Italian accent, and I can basically convince anybody that I am from Italy. But then they start speaking to me in Italian, and I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? I don't know. I only speak English, but I speak in a very strange accent.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's a fun. Do you like how frequently do you engage with Italian?
Whenever my dad's in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, it's like my Italian brain turns off, and then someone comes around and they're like, my dad will be in town and he'll walk in my room and be like, ma disgraziata, and then I'm like, all right, I'm back in it. I'm ready
I love
to get
that for you.
with a spoon or something. So okay, let's talk about this.
Sure, yeah.
Why Italian? Why Italian undertones? Why Italian in the episode?
So I studied linguistics in college, and I'm not Italian at all, actually. My family's from my mom's Ecuadorian, so I grew up speaking Spanish, but I had like kind of like an off accent. It was always this joke, like, you sound Italian.
That's funny because when you speak Italian, you have a little bit of an accent.
Yeah, I know.
It's like you're like, you just said a word, but the way you said it was like almost like in like, it was like very northern.
I watch a lot of like northern content.
Okay.
Like I love
so like the way you said the E was very almost like an A, which is very much how like my cousins talk.
Yeah.
Which is very Genovese, like P kind of sounding. So
yeah. I follow a lot of like I don't know if you know about any of this, but like the Milanese fashion school like meme pages. Like all
right. So it's like a very Milan.
That's my very Milanese. But like so I started learning Italian in college, and it just sort of felt like it was this place where I kind of could just be another person, and it was this like persona thing for me. But now what's happened is I've made like friends on Instagram in Italian, in Italy. And so Italian is this thing I use every day online. I don't know Italians in my real life anymore because of COVID. I don't go to university. I I have no people to practice Italian with, and so it's just become this internet thing. So I created this country, Flat Italy, which is the flat screen of Italy, which I'm constantly engaging with, but I have no like social practicing at all, you know, like, so I've created this fictitious country that represents this flattened exchange, which is exactly what happens to live performance. It becomes this flattened, you know, disconnect. And so that's how I've engaged with an entire country's culture for now almost a year, which is insane.
That is okay. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got Italian things that, okay, so they're not translated in the video. People would need to use Google Translate to translate.
Yes, some of them. It's
Yeah,
like, or like I have like names that are like, I don't know if you noticed, but like I have the on my, oh, it's on my second Instagram, but there's another character, John Frusaglia, which is based on the word John Frus, which is like trash you find like on the ground, and like there's a lot of like names that are based on like there's like a flamboyant character. He uses a lot of like flowery language named like Arigogolati, like Arzigogolati, like it's just like these flowery things. So there's a lot of like deep Italian linguistic punnery because it's this flatly, it's this world that is like centering the ethnicity of this insular universe, sort of. Mm-hmm. This national origin rather. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else?
Not really.
I understand now where your humor kind of linguistics is a really interesting, it's a really interesting angle for someone as funny as you. It definitely makes a lot of sense. Okay, yeah, so any kind of closing comments about episode 1?
No, yeah, sit back. It's in, you know, kick back. It's a lot. It's just a lot. And you pace yourself, you know, get some water before, just, you know, let it happen.
Some water. Okay, well, I'm really excited to see how this unfolds. And I'm really looking forward.
Cool.
I'm really looking forward to you know, the stuff that you're creating. So
thank you.
I think we're good.
Cool.
I don't know how to end interviews. I'm like fucking.
I think, you know,
I've been here, Watergh0st. Thank you for joining us.
We're doing it. Yeah. I mean, I think it ended kind of, and now this is like epilogue because we're still talking. Okay. I would like to be your friend. I think you're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I come to Flat Italy?
Yeah, you can come, and we can like. There's this part where I take the Italian national anthem, and I make the notes closer and closer in interval. It becomes one note at the end. We can like go like a soccer game and like
that's like
one note really loud.
The opposite of that, like it's like thermonuclear. You know, have you ever heard of spaghettification? It's
yeah.
It's like that's like the opposite of spaghettification. Like you're taking all these disparate strands and then like just bringing them into. That is also kind of like spaghetti making.
I've never made it. You'll have to show me.
You're like making spaghetti out of the Italian. And
I am.
By taking all of these things and kind of compressing them and then elongating them into. See?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making fucking pasta.
You're like a culinary creative director over here. This is like
I know a lot about pasta. I could definitely. I
believe you.
My whole kitchen is just full of boxes of pasta.
Wow.
Yeah. Most of it's not mine. I was supposed to drop it off at the food pantry, but then like COVID happened and they didn't want it. So now I have like fucking 500 cans like beans.
And has that been like good? Do you feel like it's contributing to some sort of apocalypse? Are you like chilling?
No, I have to bring. It's in a bag by my front door now. I have to go like actually bring it somewhere. But
oh, okay.
thanks for the push. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. Can you fucking get your life together? Like,
I'll try.
are you serious? Like, are you just like?
Yeah, I'll get on it like ASAP. Okay. Well, we'll end this now.
Yeah. I'm sick of you.
Okay. 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 Goodbye, Alex.